Welcome to Insight, everyone. I'm Nnamdi Odipo. There's a two-part phrase made popular by a Hollywood movie, The Three Musketeers, and it goes thus: one for all for one. Separate the two parts and each part will still have very deep meanings. One for all would mean each individual contributes to the whole, and all for one would indicate that no one individual is ever left behind. Whatever challenges one person invariably consigns the entire lot. Well, we will try to put that in broader perspective on this episode of the program, especially how it impacts on patriotism, unity, and national cohesion. I would also speak with a veteran Nigerian actor and recent internet sensation, popularly known as Malian Grandpa, and find out why and how he uses the social media as a tool for transgenerational connect. Elizabeth Omori is standing by for the rest of what we have for you. Lizzie, what do you have lined up?
Well, this week on the Media Review segment, we'll be my searchlight on the Ogoni cleanup, efforts made so far by the government to clean up the region, and initiatives adopted, as well as how the people have been coping.
Very well, let's get started. The very idea that we owe ourselves and our country the obligation of honesty and courage to do the right things may stem from the dictates of civic duty, civic virtue, and the imperatives for effective citizenship. But if you ask me, I mean, for all practical purposes, the true value of self-worth and patriotism is reflected and further enunciated in how much impact we have had on others. But then these are my thoughts. I intend to get a broader perspective on this issue from my first guest, Major General Ibrahim Bata Mawi Aruna, more popularly known as General IBM Aruna, is a regular on NTA. He was former National Commissioner for Information and Culture between 1975 and 1977. Between 2009 and 2012, I beg your pardon, he was the Chairman Executive Council of the Arawa Consultative Forum. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
General IBM, I figure I can call you that, sir?
Yes, you may.
Well, I know you have heard the particular line of argument about the challenge of true unity in Nigeria emanating from the very beginning in 1914. How have you been able to manage to reply those who argue that the merger of very distinctive states, peoples of different religion, culture, belief, and language without their input, is at the root of all of our national problems?
Well, I have a different view. The colonialists ruled for their own purposes of enhancing the economy and the well-being of their own state and their own people. So the root, to me, of our problems state from the fact that we have failed to appreciate what independence ought to mean and how it is interpreted in such a way that the welfare and the well-being of the people is paramount. And in this regard, I think that if you look at the economy of the colonial time, served the colonial masters. But the root of our own problem is we have failed to implant our own economy that will serve the well-being of our people, and that means the management of our resources, the application of policies and development plans such that it will enhance the growth of our economy, the social development of our peoples, and their orientation to serve the new Nigerian state.
General IBM, we sure have come a long way as a people and a country, and we seem to have worked pretty hard at it. Concomitant programs, policies, mantras, including the institutionalization of the federal character principle, the National Youth Service Corps, unity schools, national symbols, national orientation agency, and mantras such as the unity of the nation is not negotiable, among others, have been adopted to facilitate national unity in Nigeria. Take any of the institutions that I've mentioned earlier, and General, please paint me a picture of how one at least of them has helped in fostering national unity.
Well, I don't understand which direction you are going, but I know that all these policies were well meant, they are well enunciated, but they are poorly executed. in the sense that they're anchored on good thoughts, good ideas, good policies, but implementation has been very poor. There is no consistency in maintaining their objectives, and there is no true application of administration, budgets, and funding to enable them subsist on a continuous basis. So under maintenance, under funding, loss of objective, instability of policy has not allowed all these ideals to manifest themselves in the true dreams of the initiators, or in the true objective of building a Nigerian state that is firm and is growing on the basis of incremental benefits to the people.
There are a few challenges out there, and I'll mention a few shortly, but more importantly, do you think we have done enough talking, or some serious talking as a people, perhaps in recognition of some of these challenges? Or do you think we're in self-denial over issues like ethnic rivalry, religious intolerance, political exclusion, and the quest for self-determination, power sharing, and violent agitations, to mention a few? Do you think we've done enough talking and dialogue in throwing up some of these issues, or we're in self-denial?
No, we have not done enough talking. That is why we still have these subjects on the agenda of our discussions and development.
Okay, and you don't think we are in self-denial? We do recognize that these challenges subsist.
Well, self-denial only in the sense that we have not strengthened, motivated, and created leadership that is on a sustainable basis that will keep moving these ideas in a way that they form a basis for our continuous existence. Therefore, this oscillation forward and backward has in a way affected our stability and our growth. One will suggest that at least what we have done is to maintain an atmosphere of reasonable peace within which dialogue can subsist. And I think the important thing is to maintain dialogue focused on this agenda which you have outlined, and we will make progress. Rome was not built in a day, so they said.
General, we have constantly made reference to how we should continually strive for collective national interest. As an ideal, patriotism is often invoked to inspire citizens to give their best to the nation. But isn't patriotism latent at best and modeled by leadership? Do you think we have done enough in that direction to perhaps throw up patriotic leadership?
Well, I think there's a presumption here that patriotism is an inspiration that is created by leadership only on its own. Patriotism must be part and parcel of the inherent motivation and desire by the people themselves. And that is why sovereignty belongs to the people, and to exercise that sovereignty, they must be in a position to have some symbiosis or dialogue with leadership, and also versed in them is the power to choose the direction to which leadership should navigate the country, and that is the basis of giving mandate to government to govern.
General IBM, there's absolutely no doubt that as a people and a nation, we've come a long way. But then we've talked about the challenges, subsisting challenges, many of them. And at this point, I'd like for you to speak to the issue of the imperatives for our continued and collective survival as a nation and as a people. What are the imperatives for social cohesion from your own perspective?
Well, first of all, I think that it's a wrong illusion to believe that 60 years or so of statehood is enough for us to think that we have come a long way. In fact, as compared to countries who evolved over 300 years and still have problems inherent in their statehood. Take America, the greatest country, still have fundamental basic issues like serving humanity with all the wealth it has. So we have not come a long way. We have come some way, and we are still in the brew. And we should expect that as compared to the bigger nations, America, China, Russia, who are still fermenting in their own civilization. We are really a very young nation, but we are ambitious, we are talented, we have the resources, and if we are just the patience to build on what we have, we will certainly become a great nation, not just a great nation, but a great leading nation of the African African world, Africa's contribution to the world.
Indeed, I'll take that. Indeed, but then there have been calls for and from different quarters in the country, across the country, for a review of the Nigerian constitution, the federal structure, federal character issue. There's also the issue of revenue allocation and dislocation, and even the Nigerian citizenship question. Is it possible to explore these issues in a way that strengthens our common ideals in order to foster unity despite our diversity?
Indeed, I don't think it is a matter of possibility. It is a matter of what we must do, what we should be doing, and continuous dialogue and continuous choice of policy options and their execution is supposed to lead us to strengthening our unity and strengthening our state and strengthening the people in their patriotic zeal in believing in their nation.
What is your view, General IBM, on language as a tool for national identity? Do you think the national policy on education optimally utilizes language as an influence to ensure the coexistence of Nigeria in achieving self-actualization and national unity?
Well, I do know, as having been the Minister for Culture,
indeed,
that language is a fundamental instrument for the development of culture, and we have not lacked in it. Every Nigerian distinct ethnic group, about 400, 500 of them, have been able to express themselves in this basic ethnic cultural expression under the freedom of expression. But when it comes to the tools of language for development and modernization, we must think of bringing up the succeeding generations so that they are part and parcel of the continuing evolution or development in the world. Our ethnic languages cannot express beyond our basic needs for communication. So when you now want to join the world in modernization in the global world, as it is with the application of technology, then you must have to strengthen your language of communication that is relevant to development. In this case, we have 500 languages, but we have one official language that expresses the development of our talent into the modern global environment, and that is English. So it is an incremental application of language to the cultures from the primordial to the modern.
General IBM, we're edging towards the end of our talk, so I'll quickly let me throw up the issue of insecurity and ethnic violence. How can we address these issues so that we adequately address these issues to balance our regional aspirations alongside our national goals?
Well, my fundamental belief is that at the bottom of the pot, the fire that boils the pot of insecurity is the state of the economy. And I think that the economy gives us good reasons to develop infrastructure, to develop factories, to educate and motivate people to have professions that are applicable to the people in the extant development. So I think that the state must address the issues that pertains to the economy that is relevant to create employment, education, or health in such a way that the people will feel committed to their nation, committed to the policies of their choosing government, and having objectives that they must maintain in order to build upon it, to make progress. Therefore, they must envision what they want to be, for example, in the next 5 short-term plan, 15, 20 years medium-term plan, and 50 or 100 years long-term plan. This is a function of the symbiosis between the leadership and the people and their democratic choices.
General, I can't thank you enough for coming on Insight, but just before I get your final words, or rather, maybe I should just get your final words as we wrap up this discussion. Again, I would like for you to reiterate the imperatives and, the need for continued unity among the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria and why we must stay united as a people. General?
Well, my basic postulation of the imperative is that to be strong, to be relevant, and to be convincing that we know what we need for our nation and for our people. And since we do know it through dialogues and discussions, and we give choices, the political choices, which is necessary for strengthening our electoral processes, and fundamentally to know exactly the statistics upon which we base our plans.
General IBM Aruna, former National Commissioner for Information and Culture and former Chairman Executive Council, Arewa Consultative Forum, thank you so much indeed for coming on Insight. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Up next.
This is just a story from my mind. Make I tell you what happened for Abule. About this big party inside my Abule. I went there with my best friend Kunle. Kunle did here with his girlfriend Shile.
My next guest has been within the media space upward of 2 decades. He has, however, had tremendous public impact within the last few months, becoming a sensation on social media. Jude Chukwuka is essentially a creative. He's an actor, producer, director, brand influencer, and tourism enthusiast. I'm delighted to have you here, sir, with me. Thank you for joining me.
Very honored.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm eager to get into this with you, so I'll just come out and say it. Time was when people would quickly and readily dismiss older folks, fitting the prism of old people stuck in the past. I mean, I have been to your Instagram page, and I literally have 0.001 ratio of your followership. On a lighter note, how difficult or relatively easy has it been for you to embrace and adapt to the mechanics of the social media?
It is clear, it is very clear that if you don't latch on the social media, then you are finished. More so because of this pandemic, we all have been restricted. So the only thing that goes out of the house, that goes in and out of houses, is the social media. And I believe if you are not on social media, you are few. Well, maybe if you have inherited funds from your folks, but if you are a husband and a man that lives by what he earns, then you ought to be on social media.
Yet again, I am intrigued by you and what seems to be a paradox of sorts. I mean, I say this because of several videos of you trending where you are either miming a popular hip-hop song or outrightly rapping. Let me play back one of the videos that I'm talking about. I'll just have them played from the studio.
Chineke nemego kwa nwa ogbenye ezege. Every day by day I just dey celebrate oh. Everything I do is just dey penetrate oh. I just want to say oh thank you Jehovah oh. See I'm living large, I get angels in for my ghetto. Never forget where I come from, not from ghetto. Oh, na 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 na. I just want to say oh thank you Jehovah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I may be confused. I don't know if others are just as confused as I am. But please confirm, is that really you?
Yeah.
I mean, there are a couple of more videos out there, and there's something quite fascinating about your performances in all of the videos that I've seen, because the songs, they tend to take on a more deeper meaning with you performing them. Do you get a sense of that as well when you perform some of these songs?
I do. I get this sense of what is this me? You know, most of the time I do it, I get that thing from within me. Is this you? But on the same note, you know, rather in the same breath, guy, now you know, I know that. But you can't take it away that it has impacted, that people's comment about what I do has impacted me so strongly that I feel this sense of responsibility to continue.
All right then, let's move on to the rather serious issue on the seeming very gaping disconnect between the older generation and the youth population in Nigeria. It looks rather easy or easier for you at your age to learn new skills, to adapt. I mean, you've talked about that in the beginning. Why do you think it's increasingly difficult for young adults to tap from the resources of older generations to resolve issues like Nigeria's leadership question?
There is that adage that saying, the thing is not start today. It's just more evident today, given the population that, you know, this population explosion and more of the same thing happening around. Okay? There has never been a plan to the best of my knowledge, there has never been a plan by our system. I don't want to say government, because people will say I'm talking about a particular, but there's never been a plan in our system to see how the younger one will take over. Let me give you a classical example. It's in the field of football. You know, when a guy goes for screening at the national team and he loses, they will tell those same sex to go and play under 23. If that person misses screening, he goes to play under 20. If he misses screening, he plays under 19, under 17. In that same breath, we discover that most of our footballers, whether under 19 or under 21 or under 23 or Super Eagles, they retire at the same time. So we don't have those that will replace them. That is just to tell you how it is. You understand? Look at Messi when they play under 21. Messi is still playing the ball today. Okay? You can see still playing the ball today. But the guy that came to time became a veteran 2 years after playing under 21. Okay? So I'm just using that as a microcosm, as an example. Now, if you look at our education, it is unfortunate that we have reduced our funding of education in the budget to like single digit. So what do you expect that kind of a system to produce? Okay? They will produce this enchanted and tumors even in their mind. People who are not qualified to take over.
I hear you. I hear you clearly. I'll just interject here, and even though I'm interjecting, I'll still stick with the issue of transgenerational connect and ask your view on what happens in a society like ours, where when the old and younger generation actually do connect and connect better.
You see, there must be platforms and programs for such interaction and connection. If the leaders of our system find imperative, okay, if they see that there should be a platform where worthwhile knowledge, mark my word, worthwhile knowledge is passed from one generation to another. Because a man who steals in government and teaches a younger person how to steal has not transferred worthwhile knowledge, but those they have transferred knowledge. Okay? So we must find a platform where worthwhile knowledge will be passed so that those coming behind will find the values of the old interesting. However, such platforms don't exist. And where they do exist, it is like listen to what the elders are saying. We don't have an opinion here. I believe they should listen to the younger people more these days. There is an adage in Yoruba. It says, meaning it is today's job that can catch today's rabbit. But we have, and that's why we have this dysfunctionality. We have old jobs run after new rabbit. It can't work.
I hear you clearly. Earlier on, I spoke with General IBM Aruna on the imperatives for national integration and social cohesion. I would like your take on that as well, seeing that you've been doing some work in that regard. As a matter of fact, you are an example of how truly integrated we can be as a people. We've barely spoken for 10 or 15 minutes, and you've I know you're Anioma or Igbo, and you keep speaking Yoruba. I mean, a number of times now you've used the Yoruba language as an adage, to buttress your point. So before I proceed, can you say, I understand you speak a couple of languages. Can you say hello to Nigerians in a few indigenous languages that you can speak?
Okay. I'll start with my own language. It says, that is, I am from Anyocha North in Delta State. We have different kinds of greetings. So when you say Opa, which means all protocols observed.
Okay.
And Opa, if you mean Yahweh equal. In that, Noki, the way, let me see. I can dabble in out okay, it's not Nigeria, I'll start Nigeria. Nigeria is good morning.
Okay.
I can share it with my Ethiopian friend. He's another one. Eneka, Abadi, I'm telling one can dabble in and out of these languages.
Indeed. It's fascinating. It's fascinating how you are able to do that. I mean, at a time when people are talking about anyways, I think I'll come to that, but much later. But let me ask you, let me just say this. I've watched a couple of episodes of your online program, The Set. I figured that's what it's called. At a time when people are talking about using a common language, a neutral language like the English language to promote national and collective identity, you tend to believe more in promoting our indigenous languages as a means of connecting ethnic nationalities and promoting unity. Why is that so? Why do you think and consider that more important?
Yeah, English is one language that unifies us. But our local dialect helps communication. Okay? You must first be good. You must first be good in your local dialect so that you can pass better information, even in English. For me, my first language is Yoruba. Though I'm Igbo, but I was born in Lagos, so my first language is in Yoruba. Anything I want to share with you, I will think it first in Yoruba.
Exactly.
Okay? It also gives you this sense of belonging. You speak the language very well, you are a part of that system. Now, I dare ask, how many of these guys who run the system are so proficient in their local dialect? Because most of them have stayed out of this country for over 20 years and sometimes have lost touch with the realities of our society. So it is only by speaking their local dialect that they can actually connect. Okay? If we all embrace English as our central language, that unifying language, we should not disregard the language that gives you the identity that you carry about. If I were Caucasian, I would say, okay, maybe English is my identity, but I'm not Caucasian. I am you know, there's this sense of satisfaction when you know who you are. Even in my Bible, Paul says, if they are Jew, so I'm Jew also, of the tribe of Benjamin. Paul wasn't born in Jerusalem, but he knows his heritage in Jerusalem. So if you say you know the Bible and you know the Bible enough not to know who you are, then there's a big problem there.
Well, we're having some technical issues with your connection, but we're working around it. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, bro.
We can get your audio clearly, but your video, we're having issues with it. But please let's just go ahead. And is it possible to ask for a quick rehearsal of any of your episodes, of any of the episode of The Saints? And again, tell me, even though you've spoken to that, why Yoruba language? Well, you already have spoken to that, but you seem quite proficient in Yoruba language, hence your presentation of The Saints in Yoruba. Can you give us a quick rehearsal?
Let me clear something.
Okay.
The program is produced for me by Faith.
Okay.
But it is actually a way at Olon Oro in Yoruba.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So
Can you do us a quick rehearsal?
Okay, let me give you the one I did to this other guy.
Please go ahead.
Let me break it down.
Please do.
In some way, it says if you have an egg in your hand, in your right hand, and you have a which is palm up in your left hand, and you use the tip of your tongue to pick charcoal from the fire, and you walk backwards from Inni to Inni. The person that will not appreciate you will not appreciate you. Which means if you even do the impossible, the person that will not appreciate you will not appreciate you.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. I mean, we're running out of time, but I would like your take on, of course, the issue of unity as well. How important do you think, in your opinion, do you think it is for us to remain as a people? I mean, in promoting our collective aspiration now as a nation.
As a person, I have always avoided tribalism and division. As a person, I avoid tribalism and division. There are only two types of people in the world, good people and bad people. And they run throughout every community. A community as small as one family, Cain and Abel and the parents, they still have one bad guy in that same small community of four. Okay? So, when I deal with people, I don't deal with them on the basis of where you are from. I deal with them on the basis of who you are. How good are you? In fact, a lot of things, if we continue in that direction, we will see that good everything is relative. Everything is relative.
So for you, there are no lines, no ethnic lines. I mean, the lines are blurred for you. What you see,
I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see if you are good or not. Now, as far as things that we need to do, there should be a level playing field for everybody.
Very well.
Now, there should be a level playing field for everybody. There should be justice should be done or seem to have been done. You understand?
I do clearly.
Where somebody infringes upon your right with impunity because he is in this economic class, or he is from this tribe, or he is in this profession, it works against what we are talking about.
Indeed.
The unity of
we're out of time, but I won't let you go. I'll quickly like to just before you go. It's been quite fascinating and interesting for me as well. So I can totally relate with your disappointments that were almost done. Yeah, but I can promise you we will do this some other time. But before I let you go, I'd like to know if you've got any plans for the future in terms of any project that might be in the offing that has to do with our continued unity, or perhaps. Yes, please.
Definitely. I am a chosen enthusiast. Okay, my thinking is, how can every other thing we do influence tourism? Tourism in today's world has moved beyond going to see the lakes and all of that. Tourism is sometimes induced. Like how people go on medical tourism in Dubai. Okay? They go on sports tourism in England. They want to see the Premiership start. I know some of my friends that have gotten their papers ready to go watch Arsenal sports match next week. Okay? So we must look for a way to generate issues that will drive tourism in this country. And if we can do that, the funds generated by oil will look like a welfare case.
Jude Ogwegbunam Chukwuka, actor, producer, director, brand influencer, and tourism enthusiast. I want to thank you so much indeed for coming on Insight. You have been a source of happiness for many who watch you online, and you truly inspire. Thank you so much for what you do.
Cheers, Daddy. Cheers.
Thank you. Elizabeth Omori is up next.
Thanks for joining us on the Media Review segment. While the Ogoniland cleanup has encountered many challenges so far, a successful cleanup will remove a major obstacle to long-term peace and social development in the Niger Delta region, which has seen decades of conflict and instability. Therefore, it is critical that civil society in the region constructively engage with the government for the cleanup. How far with the cleanup and development of the region? Dr. Marvin Barinem Dekil, the project coordinator, Hydrocarbon Pollution Mediation Project, joins me live via Zoom to provide insight. Dr. Marvin, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning.
All right. So what is your assessment of the Ogoniland cleanup as we speak?
The HYPREP project, the cleanup of the Ogoniland, it's actually a signature project of the federal government of Nigeria. It's the first of its kind in this country. It's the first time any government is carrying out a remediation project in the land. And we have to give a credit to the President Muhammadu Buhari, who has initiated the first remediation project after over four decades of oil operations and pollution in Ogoniland and Niger Delta. So this is a project that attempts for the first time again to remove all the contamination in impacted land across the region. The important thing is our Ogoni land cleanup marks the beginning of the cleanup of the rest of the Niger Delta. So we're using this project to develop the templates that will be replicated across the rest of the land. It is also a project that came out of the agitation of the Ogoni people for several years. And so again, for the first time, there is a president that actually listened and is now dealing with those problems. Where are we at this point? We have commenced remediation since 2019. We have awarded in 2019 21 lots. In 2020, we added another 36 lots. Of the first 21, we now have companies, some lots have been completed, and we're getting ready to hand them over to the community for the farming occupation to continue. But the important thing is that we are redefining remediation in this country. We're going depth of 12 meters, we're going depth of 10 meters, we're going to depth that previously has never been done. We're also going through it scientifically and in the right sequence. We are taking time to characterize each of the sites. We are taking time to develop a remediation action plan for each of the sites. We are also looking at remediation technologies that are environmentally friendly, that are cost-effective, the ones that meet our own local situation and meet our own local environmental factors. So these are the uniqueness of our operations.
Over the years, the cleanup of the region had looked like a Herculean task. Why?
It is so because if you have a contamination that has been with you for 4 decades, it will take a whole lot of planning. It will take a whole lot of expertise. And that's one of the things we did. Federal government invited a unit initially to do the assessment. And at the point where we're implementing now, we also have unit with us, going with us every step of the way, drawing up the budget with us, going with us to the field, developing the remediation action plan, monitoring, and also providing technical assistance, technical support, as well as quality assurance. So it's something that requires a whole lot of coordination. It requires a huge political will. It requires huge amount of money. It requires a whole lot of community sensitization. And these are the things that made it so difficult. And even as we speak, it is still part of the challenges we face. Because a lot of people, and especially people from the community, see the project to be one that was to deal with all the needs, the development needs in the area, whereas it's actually designed to deal with remediation. And so these are all the expectations, perception and expectation of the project. These are the things that made it so difficult to do it previously. And we are overcoming it now. We are sensitizing the people. We are letting them understand that a good environment, a clean environment is important for their own health. And that is why we continue to engage up to this point. And you still hear pockets of people saying nothing is happening. Nothing is happening again because of the nature of what we're doing. Remediation in itself is a process, a very slow process. Curing an impacted land takes so many years. In fact, UNEP said it's going to take 25 to 30 years to do that. And we just in the first year plus of remediation. So you could understand when people tell you they can't say anything, because remediation, a remediated land, before and after, in the face of it will look the same. The only difference you see will be the amount of work done in terms of the excavated soil, treated and replaced. So these are the things that makes it difficult for us to explain to non-experts and to the local community what it is we are doing.
Okay. All right, Dr. Marvin, several initiatives have been put in place to ensure the cleanup of the region. Now let's talk about the people. Have they been very cooperative in all of this?
Absolutely. We work in the communities every day. We have people who are in the communities, but that is not to say that there are no institutional challenges. So what do I mean by institutional challenges? In our African communities, in the communities here, you always have issues to do with land disputes. You have chieftains disputes. You have ownership of different things. And these are the kind of challenges we face. There are sites we handed over to the contractors. They took over a year before the contractors would access those sites because of community disputes. So those are sort of things, challenges we have. There are also perception issues, whereas a few group of young people believe that this particular project was supposed to benefit them financially, and or that money should have been shared. So there's a whole lot of things that come as a challenge to the project that we're dealing with.
All right. Would you like to highlight some of the setbacks the project has had over the years?
Over the years, a major setback has been, first of all, the delayed implementation. You'll see a report that was handed over to the government in 2011 and only getting implemented 9 years later. So people are already dissatisfied with the long delay in implementation. And there is a carryover aggression, some people call institutional hostility to oil operations in this region. So people see HyPrep as a link to that to the oil companies. So there's these years of hostility, aggression that has been there is all transferred to the project. So all aspects directed at the project. So these are major and obvious expectations, challenges that we're facing. However, we take time to explain to them that this particular project is to deal with the environmental challenges, oil spills that are 4 decades old, and that this is the first time a government in this country is carrying out remediation in the Niger Delta, in the Ogoniland starting. You are
a critical stakeholder in that project. So how can we ensure proper cleanup of that region?
That's exactly what is going on right now. There is a proper, coordinated, structured program of implementation with the United Nations Environment Program that was part of, that did the report, being part of the implementation process. We've had the international community, we have the various ambassadors from the Dutch, the American, the British. They've all been here, they've been to the site. Work is progressing, and there is so much that we are doing in a very structured manner. Like I said, we are redefining the way remediation is being done in this country in terms of the scope, the complexities. There are specific recommendations that were made. There were things called emergency measures. We just concluded a process to award for the award of a contract for the companies that provide water. These are, by the way, these are additional activities that were recommended by UNEP. So we are dealing with the water. We're doing training of women. Right now, we have UNITA training some Ogoni women in different agricultural disciplines, areas. We have done some technical training for the manpower scientists from Greenland, which we have brought out all the way to Geneva by UNEP to train. And so we have world-class environmental scientists trained by UNEP and the project, Ogoni people, Ogoni scientists who are now technically driving this project. So there's a huge provision for capacity building, intellectual capacity building. There is skill acquisition. The project is generating jobs. At the moment, we're looking at first 21 lots generated about 800 jobs. We have 36 lots coming on. That is another 1,200. So we're looking at about 2,000 jobs created within this period by the project. So it's a huge economic upliftment, empowerment for the region, and also a huge opportunity for capacity development, especially in a highly technical and specialized area as environmental remediation.
All right, Dr. Marvin, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for providing insight on the project.
Thank you for inviting me on your program.
Thank you so much. And that's it on the Media Review segment this week.
And that's it on this episode of the program. Do join us same time next week for more on Insights. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you next week.